New Hampshire, 1970s. A quiet town with a dark, untold story. Stacy Collins, a teenager with a curious mind, unknowingly invited terror into her life with one fateful purchase: an old Ouija board. This is the story of a seemingly ordinary girl whose life was torn apart by a darkness she never expected. Stacy Collins was, by all accounts, an average 17-year-old. She lived in a small town in New Hampshire and spent her time with friends, hanging out at the local diner and dreaming about her future. But one rainy Saturday, when her friends canceled their plans, she found herself alone and bored. She wandered into a new shop she had noticed at the edge of the mall, the Antique Attic. This wasn't a typical shop. The lights were dim, and the shelves were crowded with objects that seemed to carry a sense of history and mystery. Stacy was drawn to the back corner where she saw it, a worn and scratched Ouija board, gathering dust beneath a pile of books. It looked ancient, with faded letters and a chipped wooden planchette. The storekeeper barely seemed interested in it, accepting Stacy's $5 offer with a shrug. She left, unaware of the shadow she had brought home. Once home, Stacy became fascinated by the board, spending hours reading about its history and the so-called rules of using it. Rule number 1, never use it alone. But Stacy didn't take it seriously. She decided to try it in her room, hoping for a thrill, yet nothing happened. Disappointed, she put the board away, only to find the silence didn't last. Over the next few days, she noticed strange occurrences: a cold draft sweeping through her room, faint tapping sounds from within her walls, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. Her curiosity soon turned into obsession, and her family noticed the change. She grew thin and withdrawn, her eyes once bright, now dark and distant. But the true horror began one night when she invited her friend Jenny over to try the board. Together, they called out to the spirits. The room went cold, and suddenly they heard it. A scratching sound, faint at first, then turning into desperate clawing like something was trapped in the walls trying to escape. After that night, Stacy's behavior deteriorated further. She became aggressive, angry at her family for reasons they couldn't understand. Her mother, Mrs. Collins, grew concerned as she heard unsettling noises coming from Stacy's room. Low moans, muttering, and sometimes a strange voice. When she confronted her daughter, Stacy lashed out with unnatural strength, something her mother had never seen before. Terrified, the Collins family decided they had no choice but to seek help. They brought Stacy to a psychiatric hospital, hoping doctors could explain the change in her. But the hospital staff were as baffled as her family. Stacy would alternate between periods of deep depression and violent outbursts, screaming words that sounded ancient, guttural, as if spoken by someone or something else. Doctors tried various treatments, even tranquilizers, but nothing seemed to work. The psychiatric team eventually recommended the Collins contact paranormal experts. Desperate for answers, they reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous demonologists known for their work in cases like Amityville Horror and Enfield, Poltergeist. The Warrens quickly sensed that Stacy's case was far from ordinary and called in Father Peter Martins, an experienced exorcist, to assist them in what they believed was a demonic possession. After weeks of treatments, the hospital finally released Stacy into her family's care, though she was hardly the same. At home, her behavior only grew more erratic. She spent hours locked in her room, muttering to herself, her weight dropping, and her once lively eyes now dark and hollow. The Warrens and Father Martins met Stacy at her family's home, where Father Martins began a series of prayers, attempting to draw out the entity. Stacy reacted violently, convulsing, shouting obscenities, and even attacking the priest. Father Martins continued the ritual, undeterred. The air grew thick with a rancid smell, and strange sounds filled the room as he held his crucifix toward Stacy, demanding the entity leave her. Stacy's screams filled the house, her voice shifting to a deep, guttural tone that was nothing like her own. The battle went on for hours, until finally, as the sun began to rise, Stacy fell silent, her body limp. The Warrens and Father Martins, exhausted, left, hoping they had succeeded. For a time, it seemed the nightmare was over. Stacy showed signs of improvement. Her weight began to return, and her mood stabilized. Her family felt hopeful, believing she was free. But only 3 weeks later, the scratching returned, louder and more relentless than ever. Stacy's behavior darkened once more, her eyes distant, her demeanor cold and hollow. Her family knew that whatever had left her was back, more powerful than before. With no other options, the Collins once again took Stacy back to the psychiatric hospital. Doctors did their best to treat her, labeling her condition a form of psychosis, but nothing seemed to calm her violent episodes or break her connection to the Ouija board. The Warrens, unable to help further, suggested that Stacy might need lifelong psychiatric care. The Exorcism of Stacy Collins remains one of the most mysterious and unsettling cases in paranormal history. Some say the demon never left, lurking just below the surface, waiting to strike again. And as for the Ouija board, its fate remains unknown. Some say it was destroyed. Others believe it was hidden away by Stacy herself, perhaps still holding a piece of her soul. I hope you enjoyed the mysterious case of Stacy Collins, and I hope you take it as a warning to never play with an Ouija board. No matter how tempted you are, please like and subscribe to the channel. I will be posting more paranormal stories, and hope you will come back for more.